Welcome. Whether you are new or returning for another season, we are glad you will be employed in the agricultural seed industry this summer. Because you will be working in fields managed or arranged by Monsanto, we have a vested interest in your health and safety practices. Whether you are employed by a contractor or directly by Monsanto, your safety is the most important aspect of your work experience. This video will help you become familiar with safety practices and potential safety hazards to watch out for during your work in the fields. In addition to common safety watchouts, this video provides full pesticide safety training under the Worker Protection Standard. The Worker Protection Standard, or WPS, contains requirements for pesticide safety training, notification of pesticide applications, use of personal protective equipment, restricted entry intervals, decontamination supplies, and emergency medical assistance. This video is not meant to alarm you, but to make you aware of practices that should be observed to maintain a safe work environment. If there is any portion of this video training program that you do not understand, don't hesitate to ask your supervisor or a Monsanto representative to explain it to you. The fields you are working in this summer will most likely have been previously treated with some form of pesticide. Pesticides are an important part of our country's food production. They are used to protect crops, controlling pests such as insects, weeds, and disease. Pesticides are used in a variety of forms, including liquids, sprays, dusts, granules, and gases. Pesticides may be on or in plants, soil, irrigation water, or drifting from nearby applications. The most common form of application is through ground spray equipment or an airplane. In some systems, pesticides can be applied through irrigation equipment. Residues are particles of pesticides left in the field after the area has been treated. Once a field has been treated with pesticides, the chemical will begin to decompose and dissolve to levels that are safe for workers to enter the field. The restricted entry interval, or REI, is how much time must pass before workers can enter the field after treatment. Restricted entry intervals are specified on all agricultural pesticide product labels. The REI time is usually between 4 and 72 hours, depending on the pesticide. Monsanto will monitor the REI of pesticides applied to the fields you are working in to ensure that you do not enter a field before it is safe to do so. A Monsanto representative will have a record of the application date, time, as well as REI of all pesticides applied to the fields you are working in. This information will be posted at a central notification station, like the one seen here, and will be communicated to your supervisor. This is what the red WPS warning sign looks like. It has the words Danger and Pesticides at the top and Keep Out at the bottom. Do not enter a field if the red WPS warning sign is posted. You may also be verbally warned to not enter a field. Always obey a supervisor's verbal instructions to not enter a field. Chemical drift happens when pesticides being applied in a field or target area move into another area or non-target area. You will most likely see pesticides being applied when you travel to and from the field locations. Pesticide applicators have the responsibility to ensure that the chemicals they are spraying will not drift to the area you are working in. If you see a pesticide being sprayed that is drifting into your work area, or you are contacted by spray drift, leave the area immediately and report this to your supervisor so that the situation can be assessed. Never enter a field where pesticides are being applied. There are 3 ways that an exposure can occur: oral, such as swallowing, respiratory, or breathing, and dermal, meaning skin contact or through the eyes. Wash your hands and face before eating, drinking, and using chewing gum or tobacco. A worker may ingest a pesticide by eating food that has not been properly washed. Do not eat food or drink from a container that was in a field before you entered it. Water in ponds, irrigation ditches, or irrigation pipes may be contaminated with pesticides. Never use the water from these sources for drinking or washing. There should never be open pesticide containers left in the field. Never take any pesticides or pesticide containers home. If you see pesticide containers, please stay clear and report them to your supervisor to dispose of properly. It is possible that you may have trace pesticide residues on your hands or clothing. Avoid wiping your eyes before washing. A decontamination kit is provided to individuals that inspect and scout fields. This includes soap and water for washing. Clean towels and washing stations will be provided when larger crews are working several hours in a field. Portable restrooms will also be provided for your use. These stations will be positioned within a quarter mile of your work area. Always wash your hands before and after using the restroom. It is important to wear proper clothing and protective equipment for the job you are doing. You are required by Monsanto to wear safety glasses or side shields at all times in the field. This will protect your eyes from cuts and exposure. High-top shoes, socks, long shirt, pants, and a hat or scarf can help protect your skin from residues on the crop and from the sun. It is recommended that you apply sunscreen to protect exposed skin. Shower or bathe immediately after work using plenty of soap and water, shampoo, and change into clean clothing. Always wash your clothes separately from other items and use hot water to remove residues and dirt. Avoid wearing the same work clothes more than once before washing them. Toxicity is the potential of any pesticide to cause harm. In other words, how poisonous the pesticide is. Safety data sheets, formerly known as material safety data sheets, provide safety guidance for hazard communication programs. There are two types of health effects that might be caused by exposure to certain pesticides. Acute effects happen within 24 hours of exposure. Symptoms of pesticide exposure can include skin rash, itching sensation, watery eyes, dizziness, headache, nausea, and diarrhea. More serious poisoning can also result in chest pain, breathing difficulty, pinpoint pupils, convulsions, and unconsciousness. Some common pesticide poisoning symptoms may be similar to symptoms of a cold, the flu, heat stress, or food poisoning. But you must not take these symptoms lightly, so please contact your supervisors if you experience any of these symptoms. When speaking with medical personnel, be sure to mention that you are an agricultural worker and may have been exposed to pesticides. Chronic or long-term illnesses may appear shortly after a pesticide exposure or may not show up until long after exposure has occurred. Long-term illnesses may result from repeated low-level exposures. They may also be caused by a single exposure event and become apparent after recovery from any acute effects of the exposure. Long-term health effects associated with exposure to certain pesticides may include cancer, nervous system disorders, inability to become pregnant, and damage to the immune system. The chances of developing these illnesses may not be great, but are still a good reason to protect yourself. Over time, your body could become sensitized to a particular pesticide. If a person becomes sensitized to a substance, their reaction may become worse with each additional exposure to that substance. With repeated exposure, some people develop an allergic reaction to certain substances. If you have experienced pesticide exposure symptoms in a previous work experience, please let your supervisor know. Many of the symptoms of pesticide poisoning could be confused with heat stress and sun exposure. Signs of heat illness include fatigue, headache, nausea, chills, dizziness, and fainting. Severe thirst, dry mouth, and fast pulse are also signs of heat stress. If you suspect a worker has a heat-related illness, contact your supervisors and move the worker to a cool, shaded area. Heat stress can be avoided by drinking plenty of water and eating properly. Wearing cool clothing, a hat, and taking periodic breaks will lessen heat illness. Always have an ample supply of fresh drinking water. It is recommended that you bring a personal water container with ice for portable use. In the event that you are directly sprayed with a pesticide or are exposed to chemical drift or residue, you will need to be decontaminated with clean water immediately. In the event of an exposure, 1 gallon of water provided by Monsanto available at the worksite will be utilized for decontamination purposes. Remove any contaminated clothing and wash your skin. As soon as possible, shower, shampoo, and change into clean clothes. Your supervisor and a Monsanto contact will determine the chemical name, EPA registration number, and safety data sheet, formerly known as Material Safety Data Sheet, of the product you have been exposed to. If an employee experiences pesticide exposure symptoms, a Monsanto representative or contractor will contact the local emergency services with the location of the field. The address and phone number of the nearest emergency care facility will be posted at Monsanto's central location. If an employee is showing life-threatening symptoms, do not hesitate to call 911. Professional emergency services will conduct additional decontamination at the field site. You will be required to remove your clothing and have your skin washed with lots of clean water and soap. Once emergency field washing is complete, you will be directed to shower, shampoo, and change into clean clothing. Eye flushing techniques will be needed if you get pesticide in your eyes. Use clean water that is at a temperature that will not cause injury for eye flushing. With your eyes open, allow water to irrigate your eye. Tilt your head so the affected eye can be flushed without pouring the eye wash across both eyes. Flush the eye continuously for 10 to 15 minutes. If you inhale a pesticide, you will need to move to an area of fresh air and loosen any tight clothing that would constrict breathing. If you swallow a pesticide, rinse your mouth with plenty of water and drink large amounts of water. Only induce vomiting if the label instructs to do so. Monsanto is committed to creating a safe environment for all participants within its seed production program. It is your right to know the hazards and potential dangers that could be encountered during your work experience. We ask you to plan and act in a safe way that provides for your personal wellness and the wellness of those around you. All employees are protected against retaliatory acts for attempting to comply with protections provided by the Worker Protection Standard. If you have any questions throughout your work experience, please do not hesitate to speak with a Monsanto safety representative.